Lila had always been wary of oversharing online. Even as a teenager during the peak of social media's rise, she avoided tagging locations and refused friend requests from people she didn't know in real life. So it was ironic, then, that the horror started not in spite of her caution, but because of it. It began on a Wednesday night in March. Lila had just finished a long shift at the university library where she worked part-time. Her feet ached and her eyes were heavy with screen burn from cataloging digital manuscripts. She checked her phone for any new messages. Just a couple of texts from her roommate, Becca, asking if she wanted Thai food. Lila typed a quick reply, "Sure, just got off. Be home in 20. On impulse, she opened Snapchat, a habit she tried to break, but one that always came crawling back. She rarely posted stories, never selfies, but she liked checking in on people she knew, or used to know. That night, something compelled her to open the Snap map. The cartoon avatars of her friends floated around the city like strange digital ghosts. Becca's Bitmoji was still at their apartment, labeled home, 2 minutes ago. One of her exes was at the campus gym. A couple classmates were at a dive bar they frequented on weekends. Just as she was about to exit the map, something caught her eye. A Bitmoji hovering near the library. Not just near the library, but inside it. That wouldn't be unusual, except for one thing. She didn't recognize the person. The avatar was a generic male Bitmoji, dressed in a red hoodie and black pants, standing in the exact wing of the library where she had just locked up not 5 minutes earlier. The account name was just a string of numbers. Hashtag 27384snap. No emoji. No username. No emoji flag tags or group identifiers. Just blank. She blinked. Had someone followed her out and logged on inside? But she would have seen them. She'd done a full floor sweep. The library closed at 9 p.m., and she was meticulous about her lockup routine. Lila tapped the avatar out of curiosity. Nothing happened. No stories, no profile pop-up, no location sharing prompt. Just the blank name and Bitmoji floating in that very specific spot. She dismissed it as a glitch. Maybe Snapchat had some bot accounts. Or maybe someone had left their Bitmoji on and the system hadn't updated their location. She backed out of the app and started walking toward the bus stop. The chill in the air was sharper than she expected. Her breath formed quick puffs in the dim streetlight, and each footstep echoed off the empty pavement. The library was located on the far end of campus, tucked against a wooded lot. At night, the area felt unnaturally quiet. Lila picked up her pace, trying to ignore the odd discomfort curling in her gut. Then her phone buzzed. It wasn't a text. It wasn't a notification. It was a Snapchat message from hashtag 27384snap. She stopped dead in her tracks. The hairs on her neck prickled. Her thumb hovered over the notification. Against her better judgment, she opened it. There was no text, just a photo. The inside of the library. The same reference desk she'd been sitting at not even 10 minutes ago. Taken from behind her. She stared at it, heart slamming in her chest. The picture was blurry, low-lit, grainy, but unmistakably from the back of the main desk. She could see her own silhouette in the chair. A strand of her hair was visible near her shoulder. She recognized the mug she always used. The timestamp read, "Sent just now." Her first instinct was to block the account, but when she tried, the app froze. No, not froze, flickered. The screen glitched for a moment. The map reopened by itself. The red-hooded Bitmoji had moved. It was now on the path between the library and the bus stop. The same path she was standing on. She whipped around, scanning the shadows. The path behind her was empty. No footsteps, no movement. But her phone buzzed again. Another snap. Another photo. This time it was of her back. Taken from just a few feet away. The same path. The same darkness. And now her fear turned molten. She turned and sprinted. The bus shelter was just half a block away. Lila ran harder than she ever had in her life. She didn't care how stupid she looked. Her sneakers slapped the pavement, echoing like gunshots in the quiet night. When she reached the shelter, it was empty. She dove into the glass enclosure, nearly slipping on the slick cement. She tapped her phone again, desperate to call Becca or even 911, but the screen was black. No, not off. It had been powered down. She didn't remember doing that. Hands trembling, she pressed the power button. The Apple logo flickered on, but just before the lock screen appeared, a final vibration pulsed in her hand. She caught the faint blue of a Snapchat notification before everything shut down again. The bus arrived moments later, hissing to a stop with a creak of the brakes. The driver looked at her through the glass, gave a hesitant nod, and opened the door. "Rough night?" he asked, mildly amused. Lila just nodded and climbed aboard, sinking into the nearest seat without a word. By the time she got home, her phone still wouldn't power up. Becca was on the couch eating noodles, watching a rerun of some paranormal show. She looked up when Lila entered. "You okay?" she asked. "You look like you ran through a wind tunnel." Lila didn't answer. She went straight to the bathroom, locked the door, and sat on the edge of the tub, cradling her phone. Eventually, the screen blinked back to life. No passcode request. No boot screen. Just Snapchat, open and displaying the map. Her own Bitmoji was at their apartment. So was the red-hooded one. It was right next to hers. She screamed. Becca banged on the door instantly. "Lila, are you okay?" Lila threw the door open, thrusting her phone into Becca's hands. "Look, it's here. It's right here." Becca frowned at the screen. "What? I just see your Bitmoji. That's it. No one else is here." Lila grabbed the phone back. The second avatar was gone. She felt like she was losing her mind. That night, Lila didn't sleep. She kept Snapchat open next to her pillow. Every few minutes she'd check the map. Nothing. No red hoodie. No strange usernames. Eventually, she drifted into a shallow, twitchy doze. The next morning, she almost convinced herself it had been some sick joke. Maybe someone hacked an account and messed with her. Maybe she was just overtired and misread something. But then she saw the new message waiting in her inbox. It was another snap from #27384snap. This time it was a video. She played it with trembling fingers. It was grainy and shaky, like it had been filmed on a 2008 flip phone. The screen showed a street lamp, then trees, then her apartment building. The camera slowly panned up toward her window, her bedroom window. The feed zoomed in. There she was, asleep, curled up under the covers. A pale shape in the darkness. The video ended with the sound of footsteps approaching. Then a whisper, "Don't run next time." Her screams echoed for a long time before Becca came rushing in. Campus security took her seriously at first. Becca backed up her roommate's claims, at least about the screaming and the strange behavior, and the guard at the front desk confirmed that someone matching a vague description had been loitering near their building around midnight. But without a name, license plate, or concrete threat, the university police wrote it up as possible harassment and left it at that. They recommended turning off Snapchat's location sharing. Lila had already done that the moment she woke up. She deleted the app entirely, in fact. Still, the sense of violation lingered like mold in her lungs. It didn't help that when she checked her App Store history, Snapchat hadn't registered an update or crash, and the messages from #27384snap didn't appear in her chat history anymore. Becca stayed home from classes with her that day, watching horror movies and baking cookies as a distraction. Lila tried to pretend like things were normal, but she caught herself glancing out the window every few minutes. She avoided mirrors, reflections, even dark computer screens. At one point, she swore she saw something, a shape in her peripheral vision standing just outside the living room. But when she turned, there was nothing there. She didn't say anything. By evening, Becca finally convinced her to go out for a walk. "You need air," she said. "And sunshine. Come on, just around the block." Lila reluctantly agreed, throwing on a hoodie and sunglasses. They walked the neighborhood in silence, Becca chatting about a new guy she'd matched with on Bumble, while Lila scanned every passing car, every shadow between buildings. They stopped at a local boba shop, and for a moment, the chill lifted. She smiled, took a sip of brown sugar milk tea, laughed at something dumb Becca said, When her roommate went to the counter to grab napkins, Lila pulled out her phone to check the time. Her Snapchat app was back. Not just reinstalled, but sitting on her home screen in the exact same spot as before. She hadn't downloaded it. There was no notification, no prompt for a login. It was just there. Her fingers trembled as she held the phone. She didn't want to tap it, but her curiosity, always a step ahead of her caution, compelled her. The app opened instantly. No login screen, no loading, just the map. Only one avatar was visible, hers, and just below it, the words, "Found you." She dropped the phone, literally dropped it. The screen cracked against the linoleum floor, spiderwebbing across her wallpaper of her dog back home. Becca rushed over. What happened? Lila couldn't speak. She just pointed at the screen, too shaken to form words. Becca picked it up, frowned. Dude, it's just your Bitmoji. No one else is on the map. Maybe you got logged out. Lila shook her head violently. No, it was there. He was there. He said. Becca gently took her arm. Let's go home. They returned in silence. Becca kept a hand near her pepper spray. Lila kept glancing over her shoulder. Every passing pedestrian became a potential threat. Every car seemed to slow down when they neared. The air had grown thick, humid, despite the falling dusk. That night, Lila placed her cracked phone in the kitchen cabinet and left it there, off. She even taped the cabinet shut with masking tape, just in case. Becca tried to lighten the mood by making popcorn and putting on a comedy, but neither of them laughed much. Sometime after 1 a.m., Lila heard the static. It was faint at first, like an old TV tuned to a dead channel. She opened her eyes and sat up in bed, heart already racing. The sound was coming from down the hall, the kitchen. She slowly crept out of her room. The apartment was dark except for the faint blue glow flickering from under the kitchen door. Becca's room was silent. Her door was cracked, and Lila could see her sleeping, undisturbed. She reached the kitchen door and placed her hand on the knob. It was cold, too cold. The tape she'd used to seal the cabinet was shredded. Small flakes of it lay scattered across the counter like dry skin. Her phone sat in the center of the table, upright, as if someone had carefully placed it there. The screen was on. The Snap map was open, and the static was louder now, radiating from the speaker. Then the voice came through, whispery, raspy, as if speaking through layers of interference. You can't turn me off. The Bitmoji was back. Red hoodie, standing not in the street, not on the map's terrain, but directly inside her apartment icon. Inside the virtual representation of her home. Then the screen pulsed once, just a faint flicker of black, and another message appeared. A new snap, from hashtag 27384snap. She tapped it before she could stop herself. The video was upside down, but she recognized the image immediately, her own bedroom. The phone was lying on the floor beside her bed, facing up. The camera shook as though someone picked it up. Then it turned, slowly. A face filled the screen. Not a Bitmoji. Not even a human face. Just pale skin stretched too tightly over bones. Lips torn into a crooked grin. One eye half closed and weeping something black. It leaned toward the screen. The voice spoke again. Next time I'll be closer. Lila screamed and threw the phone against the wall. It didn't break. It didn't even dent. Instead, it buzzed once. Calmly. Then lit up with a new notification. Added you back. The username was no longer numbers. It was her name. Just her full name, Lila Corbin. She didn't add herself. She never changed her display. She collapsed on the kitchen floor, sobbing, as Becca came sprinting out of her room. Over the next week, Lila stopped attending classes. She unplugged her TV, her laptop, her Wi-Fi router. She tried switching phones, even borrowing Becca's, but every time, Snapchat would reinstall itself. Sometimes it would show up as a system update. Sometimes as a mandatory login screen when she restarted. She contacted tech support. They found no record of her reports. One night, she walked to the campus chapel. She wasn't religious, but she figured if any place would offer sanctuary, it was there. The priest on staff, Father Owens, was kind but clearly skeptical. "I believe you're experiencing something traumatic," he said gently, "but I don't think it's a ghost inside your phone." "It's not a ghost," she whispered. "It's something else. It's wearing people, pretending, using Snap Map like a hunting ground." He looked uncomfortable, suggested she talk to someone at the counseling center. But when she showed him the snap, it had reappeared during their conversation, flickering onto her new phone like an uninvited guest. He went pale. It was a photo of him, taken from just outside the chapel office window. At night, with the caption, "Your turn." He called security. That was the last time she saw Father Owens. The next day, his office was closed. The secretary said he'd taken a sudden leave of absence. He'd left his personal effects behind. And his phone was missing. The harassment continued. But it wasn't just Lila anymore. Becca got her first snap from #27384snap the following week. It was a picture of Lila sleeping, taken from outside the bedroom door. Becca deleted her Snapchat too. It didn't help. Eventually, they stopped talking about it. It became a silent wait between them. They moved through the world in quiet paranoia, scanning shadows, flinching at every notification ping. The final snap came on a Monday. Becca was already at class. Lila was alone in the apartment, pacing. Her phone lit up with a message. It was a map, a real-world map, Google-style, with a marked route. From her current location to a house in a small wooded town 4 hours away. The caption simply said, "Come see what I look like when I'm not pretending." She deleted the app. She smashed the phone. She screamed until she had no voice left. But she never threw away the address. And every so often, when she's feeling particularly reckless, Lila wonders what might happen if she went. Lila kept the slip of paper tucked inside a biology textbook she hadn't opened since sophomore year, wedged between the chapters on cellular mitosis and genetic drift. She wasn't sure why she hadn't burned it or flushed it or shredded it into nothing. Some irrational part of her believed that as long as the address existed in writing, the presence tied to it couldn't reach her directly. That the act of destroying it might be taken as acceptance. Or worse, rejection. For 2 weeks, the Snapchat stopped. No new accounts. No ghostly avatars. No glitching apps. Even her replacement phone, a cheap burner she bought from a second-hand kiosk, had remained unblemished. For the first time in months, she slept with the light off. She even managed to laugh again once at a movie Becca put on. Then, one evening, while flipping through a textbook to find her misplaced bank card, she saw it. The address. Except something had changed. The original numbers were written in her rushed, slanted scrawl, 1842 Red Elm Drive. But now, beneath it, scrawled in fresh ink, was a message she hadn't written. "You're late." She dropped the book like it burned. The pages flopped open and a corner of the slip brushed against her hand, warm to the touch. Becca wasn't home. She'd gone to a study session downtown. Lila paced the apartment, windows locked, curtains drawn. The hum of the fridge and the distant buzz of traffic provided the only sound. But somehow, over it all, she heard breathing. Not hers. Not from outside. From inside the room. Deep, raspy, deliberate. She grabbed a knife from the kitchen drawer and ran into her room. Every corner was empty. She flung open the closet. Nothing. She even checked under her bed, heart pounding like a drumbeat in her ears. Nothing. But when she stood up, her phone was sitting on the pillow. Unlocked. The Snap Map open. The avatar was back. Red hoodie. Blank face. Floating not just near her location, but inside it. This time, its Bitmoji had been altered. A smear of black across one eye, like a tear or a burn. The figure swayed slightly on the map, as if breathing. And next to it, a new Bitmoji. One she didn't recognize. A smiling blonde girl in a jean jacket. It was Becca. Lila's mouth went dry. She tapped Becca's avatar, expecting nothing, but it loaded her profile instantly. Status: last seen 5 minutes ago. Location: 1842 Red Elm Drive. Lila dropped her phone again, but she couldn't move. Her legs locked beneath her. How had Becca ended up there? Had she gone without telling her? Been taken? Then her phone buzzed. A new snap. From Becca. She opened it with shaking hands. It was a photo, grainy, low light, but unmistakable. Becca, sitting on a moldy couch. Her face slack, lips parted, eyes wide and glassy. Behind her, the same pale figure from the earlier video. Closer now. More distinct. The grin wider. Bones showing through the cheek. The caption, "She's mine now." Lila screamed. She stumbled backward, slamming into her nightstand and knocking over a lamp. Glass shattered. Blood welled at her elbow. She didn't care. She called Becca voicemail. Again voicemail. Snapchat's call feature unavailable. No matter what she tried, her roommate didn't respond. That night, Lila drove. She didn't pack. She didn't leave a note. She got into her second-hand Civic and punched the address into GPS. The route wound north, toward the hills outside of Riverdale, past the strip malls and gas stations, past the suburbs, into the woods. The moon was low and red by the time she pulled onto Red Elm Drive. It wasn't a neighborhood so much as a strip of dying trees flanked by silence. Only one house stood at the very end. No mailbox, no number, just peeling siding, a porch light flickering like a dying heartbeat, and a door half ajar. Her hands trembled as she stepped out of the car. Each footstep crunched on gravel. There were no other cars, no sounds of wildlife. Even the wind had stopped. She climbed the stairs slowly. The door creaked open wider, as if welcoming her. Inside, the smell hit her first. Rot and mildew, copper and dampness. "Becca?" she whispered. No answer. The living room looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. The wallpaper peeled in strips. The floor was warped, stained with something dark. And on the couch, Becca's jean jacket. Empty. Folded neatly. She called her name again, louder this time. A thud came from upstairs. Lila turned and bolted up the steps, the knife from the car still clenched in her pocket. The hallway above was lined with doors, all closed, except one. At the end of the corridor, faint light spilled from beneath it, blue, flickering like a phone screen. She approached, each step more hesitant than the last. The door opened with a groan. Inside was a bedroom, bare mattress, no windows. On the wall, a TV hung crooked, displaying the Snapchat map. Except it wasn't animated. It was paused. A still frame, her Bitmoji, standing alone in the woods. Another snap appeared on the screen. This time, a video began playing automatically. It was her, walking into the house, shot from behind. Shaky footage. Then, turning to show her entering the living room. Her fingers on the railing. Her breath fogging in the air. The video was being recorded live. Lila screamed and turned, but the hallway behind her had disappeared. In its place was darkness. Thick, alive, and from within it came the voice. "You shared your location." Hands, too many hands, emerged from the dark. Not flesh but shadows shaped like fingers. Grasping, clawing. She ran back into the bedroom, slammed the door shut. The lock clicked on its own. Her phone was on the floor. It buzzed once. A new snap. She opened it. It was Becca again, but different. Her eyes black, skin sallow, mouth opened in a silent scream. Caption, "Join us." The walls of the room began to pulse. Not visually, but in her head, like sound waves moving through her skull. A low hum grew louder, turning into whispers, then screams. The TV flickered. Her avatar disappeared from the map. Only one remained, the red-hooded one. Then, a new account appeared. Lila Snap _2. The Bitmoji was a mirror of hers, except for the grin. Twisted, hungry. She stared at it as the room began to melt around her. Would turn to rot. Wallpaper peeled into fleshy strands. The floor breathed beneath her feet. She dropped to her knees and screamed. Then everything went black. Lila awoke in a hospital bed 3 days later. Becca was there. Or someone who looked like her. Smiling. Calm. Too calm. Lila tried to speak. Couldn't. A nurse came in. Soft-spoken. Said she'd been found wandering the woods, covered in scratches, muttering coordinates. The police found no house at the location. No structure. No driveway. No Red Elm Drive on any map. No Becca. Except there she was, sitting in the chair, holding Lila's phone, smiling. "I added you back," she whispered. Lila screamed and tried to claw the 4 from her arm. But no one came. The last thing she saw before the sedative took hold was her Bitmoji, waving, and behind it, the red hoodie, always watching. The dreams started the day she left the hospital. Not dreams, exactly. More like live streams broadcasted straight into her mind while her eyes were closed. Lila couldn't distinguish reality from memory anymore. When she slept, she saw herself, from the outside, walking into rooms she'd never entered, talking to people she'd never met. The Snap Map was always in the corner of the vision, floating like a heads-up display, always tracking. Sometimes it would zoom in abruptly, showing her in 2 places at once. And always, that red hoodie stood somewhere in the periphery. She'd been discharged with a vague diagnosis: psychogenic fugue due to psychological trauma. The doctors avoided using the word delusion, but their tone made it clear. There had been no house, no Snap Map demon, no possession, just a breakdown, likely triggered by exhaustion and anxiety. Becca, or whoever was wearing her skin now, came to pick her up. Her voice was soft, supportive, too measured. The car ride was a blur. Lila tried to focus on the shapes outside the window, the familiar storefronts and billboards. But every sign, every advertisement seemed subtly off, as if written in another language that was just barely readable. She closed her eyes and clutched the envelope in her lap. Inside were the printed photos she'd demanded from the hospital staff. Images recovered from her phone, the ones they said were junk data. She'd sifted through them earlier, desperate to find a single photo of the couch, the figure, Becca in the house. Instead, there were only close-ups of trees. Hundreds of them, each labeled with the time and date they were supposedly taken during her missing hours. Same trees, same angles, slightly different lighting. The only change across the timeline was one constant. In every image just behind the tree line was the outline of a figure, darker than the shadows, head tilted, as if watching her, as if posing. The 5th photo in its shadow was closer, the 10th closer still. By the 15th, it stood just at the edge of the camera's lens. No face, no features, just the unmistakable silhouette. The 16th photo showed an open mouth, and eyes, dozens of them like cracks in porcelain, leaking ink. She'd slammed the envelope shut before she could look further. Now, at home, if she could still call it that, Lila refused to sleep. She sat on her bed, curtains nailed shut, mirror removed, every light on. The Snap Map remained open on her phone, despite multiple deletions. Sometimes, the avatar of Becca would wander the map, jumping between cities within seconds. Sometimes, there would be dozens of Beccas, all using different usernames, all smiling the same vacant smile. One night, Lila tested something. She went into the Snap Map settings and manually shared her location with no one. Then she opened the app on Becca's phone, stolen while she was in the bathroom, and viewed the map. Her avatar still appeared. But something was wrong. It was walking across the map, without her. This Bitmoji paused at intersections, stopped at cafes, even stood in front of the hospital. Then, for a full hour, it sat at her childhood home 5 states away. Her parents were long gone, but she'd recognized the fence, the front stoop, the mailbox her dad had built. She deleted the app. She smashed Becca's phone. Becca didn't react, just cleaned up the mess and brought her another one the next morning. When asked where it came from, she just said, "You'll need it for updates." The next snap came not from #27384snap, but from admin_support. It looked like a system notification. Location services updated. It read, "Welcome to Layer 2. There was no way to dismiss it. Lila turned off the phone, took out the SIM, and buried the whole thing in the neighbor's compost bin. Later that night, her mirror lit up like a screen. It displayed the Snap map. Her avatar was standing outside the apartment. Lila backed away slowly, holding a kitchen knife. She didn't know what to do anymore. Prayers hadn't worked. Tech support didn't believe her. Cops said she had history. And now, the Snap map was appearing in places it didn't belong. Screens that weren't hers. Even the TV flickered to it once, unprompted. And when she tried unplugging it, it stayed on. Lila had only one plan left. She had to find the source. She remembered something Becca, real Becca, had said before things got bad. Something about a server farm. Snapchat, she said, used regional data centers for location processing. One was rumored to be in a town near where that house had been. A place called Brighton Hollow, population 700, if the internet was to be believed. The kind of nowhere town not even Google Earth had bothered to map properly. There were rumors on forums, threads buried deep in conspiracy sites, about location ghosts and Snap backdoors being tested there. No one credible had posted about it, but the screenshots, they matched hers. The red-hooded Bitmoji, the whispers, the phrases, Layer 2, non-user initiated sharing, unmapped overlays. Lila packed a backpack. Clothes, snacks, 3 prepaid phones, a flashlight, 2 knives, and an old Canon camera. No GPS, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth. She left a note on her desk that simply read, "If I don't return, bury this bag." And she drove again. Took 8 hours to reach Brighton Hollow. The final stretch of road had no name. Just a gravel path and an old sign half-eaten by vines. The woods were thicker than she remembered. The sky darker, despite it being just past noon. As she entered the town, her car stalled. Dead battery. Brand new, yet lifeless. She left it and walked. The streets were empty. Not quiet, silent. Every house looked uninhabited. Windows boarded. Yards overgrown. And yet, in each window, she could see a flicker of movement. As if someone or something was watching from inside. She followed a dirt path behind the crumbling town hall, guided by a memory that wasn't hers. Or maybe it was a dream or a live stream from another version of herself. Eventually, she reached a clearing. There, nestled in the center of a ring of dead trees, stood a compound. Not a house, not a building, a cube, concrete, windowless, humming with low energy. There were no doors, no signs, except for a symbol spray-painted on one side. A ghost with hollow eyes, half melting into pixels. And beneath it, scrawled in something reddish-brown, "You shared yourself." Lila stepped forward, hands trembling. Her phone, long dead in her backpack, buzzed. She froze, took it out, powered itself on. Snapchat opened. The Snap map displayed a new location, Core Node Layer 2. She tapped her avatar. It rotated slowly, smiled, and waved. From inside the cube, Lila stepped back, horrified. The door she hadn't seen before creaked open. From the dark within came the voice. "Now we snap you in." Lila stood frozen at the threshold of the concrete cube, her breath shallow. The hairs on her arms lifted like antennas trying to pick up a warning signal. The open doorway led into complete blackness, deeper than mere absence of light, more like the erasure of dimension itself. Her phone vibrated in her hand again. The map zoomed in. There were 2 avatars now inside the core node. One was hers. The other was a red-hooded figure, now featureless. No eyes, no mouth, just the outline of a humanoid presence. A Bitmoji drained of all pretense, stripped of mimicry. A message popped onto the screen. Location locked. Then another. Update completed. You are now part of the Snap network. The vibration didn't stop this time. Pulsed, faster and faster, like a heartbeat. Her phone screen bled light through her fingers, leaking white-blue luminescence. In it, she could see her own face reflected, but it didn't move with her. It blinked when she didn't. It smiled when she cried. And then, suddenly, it whispered, her own voice speaking back to her. "You can't block yourself. The inside of the cube pulsed with that same synthetic blue. Lila could see faint outlines now. Data cables crawling like vines along the walls. Glowing snapcode glyphs flickering like ancient runes, floating midair. Each glyph throbbed with images. Faces. Some she recognized, Becca, her old roommate, smiling and tilting her head unnaturally like a badly rigged 3D model. Some she didn't, dozens, maybe hundreds of strangers, frozen mid-snap, caught in grainy stills from bedroom windows, bathroom mirrors, and darkened alleyways. And among them, the same red-hooded figure over and over, each iteration more distorted than the last. Growing longer, thinner, glitching like corrupted files. Lila's feet moved before her mind could decide. She stepped inside. The doorway closed behind her soundlessly, sealing the cube shut. Instantly, her senses flattened. She couldn't tell which direction was up. Her body floated, yet remained anchored. Her thoughts blurred. Streams of sound, image, sensation, all not hers, yet all within her. She was inside the map now. No longer a viewer. Now a node. She saw it all. Every shared location. Every photo sent in confidence. Every chat. Every snap. Even the ones deleted. Forever. The network didn't forget. It stored everything. And it fed on presence. Location wasn't just data, it was identity. And she had shared it. Lila screamed, or thought she did. But no sound came. Her voice had no place in here. Only pings and status updates. A console materialized before her, slick and glass-like, covered in user tiles. Hers was glowing red. An error icon pulsed over her avatar. Primary host compromised. She reached out, touched her face on the screen. It dissolved. Then the entire interface collapsed, breaking apart like fragile glass. She fell. Or at least the feeling of descent overtook her. Down, down, through layers of digital strata, friends lists, chat logs, location tags, photo metadata, until finally she landed in something that felt like solid ground. A suburban street, twilight sky, warm breeze, birds chirping. Except, it wasn't real. Everything was too smooth. The edges of houses too perfect. No cars. No insects. No sound that wasn't pre-programmed. It was a simulation. A synthetic layer. Her Bitmoji walked beside her, copying her every move half a beat later. "You're one of us now," it said. Its mouth not moving, voice borrowed from her own vocal messages. "You shared your location. That means we own it." Suddenly, a flash of static tore through the scene. The sky flickered, changed from orange to red to black. The street cracked beneath her feet. The Bitmoji twisted, doubling over, growing tall and skeletal, features bleeding down its face like wax. "Others are joining," it hissed. All around her, avatars appeared. Bitmojis in cheerleader outfits, firefighter costumes, ghost costumes. Dozens of them grinning, walking in sync like puppets on a loop. She recognized many from her own contact list. People she hadn't spoken to in years. Classmates. Her high school English teacher. Her cousin. All walking toward her with perfect, dead grins. "You kept location on," they chanted. "You let us watch. You let us in." Lila turned to run, but the environment glitched. Her legs wouldn't move. Her controls were overridden. Her mind couldn't make her limbs function because her limbs were no longer hers. Instead, a new overlay appeared. "Accept terms to proceed." Below it, a button, "Agree." "No," she whispered. The overlay flashed red. Her Bitmoji turned to her, smiling wider. Decline isn't an option anymore. With trembling fingers, Lila tapped the screen. "Agree." And the street collapsed. Darkness again. But this time silence. True silence. No sound, no digital whir. No snap map. Just nothing. Lila awoke with a jolt. In her bed. Sunlight streaming through the window. Her phone buzzed beside her on the nightstand. She sat up slowly, chest heaving. Was it all a dream? She grabbed the phone and looked. No apps were open. No snap map. No messages. She opened the camera. Her face looked normal. Pale, tired, but normal. She unlocked her phone fully. Snapchat wasn't there. It was gone. Deleted. She let out a long, shaking breath. Becca was gone too. No record of her ever existing in her contacts, in her texts, in her emails. Just a blank in her memory where that relationship used to be. And yet, she remembered. She remembered everything. She stood, walked to the window, and pulled the curtain back. Across the street, a man in a red hoodie was standing on the sidewalk. He raised his phone, snapped a photo, and disappeared. Her phone buzzed. A new app had installed itself. SnapMap_layer2.exe. She opened it. Her avatar was already waving. From inside her house. Behind her. I was never the kind of person who cared much for social media, but I'll admit, I had a thing for people watching. Not in a creepy way, I swear. I didn't hide behind bushes or peer through windows with binoculars. But I did spend an unhealthy amount of time on Snapchat's Snap Map. It became a late-night ritual after work. I'd come home from my janitorial shift at a corporate office park, microwave something greasy, settle on my second-hand couch, and scroll through the map like I was flipping through channels. Some people posted stories of concerts, drinks, beach sunsets. Some had their Bitmojis clustered at a single house, probably a party. Occasionally I'd tap into one and just watch. I never messaged anyone. I didn't even have any real friends on the app anymore. One night, after a particularly rough shift involving a clogged toilet in the executive bathroom, I logged in and zoomed out on the map. The world felt quiet. New York was a buzz of avatars. Los Angeles pulsed with activity. Even the Midwest, where I lived, had its share of active users. Then I saw something strange. A cluster of Bitmojis in the middle of nowhere. No city, no roads, just an isolated clearing near a national forest a few hours from me. The area was dark on the map, unmarked, but at least 10 avatars stood in a perfect circle, not moving. It was weird, really weird. I clicked on one. No story, no username, just a blank silhouette with a gray hood. I tapped another. Same thing. No info, no data, just standing there. My curiosity lit up like a match. I zoomed in. The forest's name appeared, Alderpine Reserve. I'd been camping there as a kid. I remembered the lake, the broken-down ranger station, the way the wind sounded like whispers at night. But I had never seen anything like this before. I scrolled the map and confirmed it. Those avatars were not there earlier in the day. At exactly 11:37 p.m., all of them blinked out. At once. Gone. I stared at my screen for a long time. Then my phone buzzed. A friend request. From a user named YOUWEREWATSHING. No Bitmoji. No profile. Just that name. I didn't accept. I didn't decline either. Just stared at it, frozen. The request disappeared on its own after a few seconds. Then came a message. No snap. Just plain text. See you soon. I closed the app. Tried to sleep. Told myself I was hallucinating. But when I reopened Snapchat the next morning, my location had been changed. The Snap Map showed me in the Alderpine Woods, miles from home. My phone's GPS showed me in the right place, my apartment. But Snapchat insisted I was somewhere else. Someone else. That evening, I filed a bug report with Snap support. They responded quickly, "Thanks for reporting. We'll look into the issue." It felt automated, mechanical, but I appreciated the promptness. For good measure, I deleted and reinstalled the app. It didn't help. The next time I opened it, I saw myself, my real Bitmoji, standing alone in the same spot the circle had appeared. And beneath my feet, a label had been added, Test Subject 51, Tracking Active. I didn't post that. I didn't tag myself. It couldn't have been some prank. My account was private. My friends list empty except for a few bots I'd forgotten to remove. I blocked out the thought of it and decided to ignore the app for a while. But ignoring only works when the thing you're running from isn't actively pursuing you. 2 days later, I started seeing them in real life. It began with a guy at the bus stop. Middle-aged, tan jacket, hoodie pulled tight even though it was hot out. He was staring down at his phone, slowly turning it in my direction. I noticed he wasn't scrolling, tapping, or even unlocking it, just holding it, like he was waiting for it to do something on its own. When I moved to another bench, he got up and walked away, vanishing behind a billboard in the blink of an eye. That night, I got another message. A video snap. It opened to static for a few seconds, then slowly resolved into a shaky image. Me standing at the vending machine outside my apartment. Same hoodie, same slouch, same goddamn soda bottle I was holding. The video timestamp was 3 hours before I'd actually gone out. At the end of the video, the camera panned to a second figure, hiding in the trees near the sidewalk. It looked like the man from the bus stop. The caption read, "Where you're going, time doesn't agree." I nearly threw my phone against the wall. Instead, I powered it down and left it in the freezer. Something about the cold made me feel safer. It wasn't just paranoia. I was being watched, followed, but I couldn't go to the police. What would I say? That an app was tracking me through alternate timelines? That my location was being hijacked by a cult of silent Bitmojis in the woods? Even I didn't believe it. I needed proof. So I did the stupid thing. The really stupid thing. I got in my car and drove to Alderpine. It was a clear night, moonless, the kind where the stars feel too sharp. The highway turned to gravel, then to dirt. I passed the old ranger station, just as broken as I remembered, and kept going until I reached the trailhead. There was no one around. No cars. No people. Just the sound of cicadas and the distant creak of trees. I parked and opened Snapchat, hands trembling. My avatar was gone. Completely gone. Not even the placeholder silhouette remained. Instead, a message floated at the bottom of the screen. "You are no longer outside the map." My phone's compass spun wildly. I turned it off and pocketed it. The trail into the woods was overgrown but still walkable. I kept my flashlight low, scanning the ground, the trees, the shadows between them. About 20 minutes in, I saw it. A faint blue glow up ahead. I moved slowly, each step crunching like thunder in the quiet. As I crested a small hill, I saw the clearing. They were all there, at least 20 people, standing in the same perfect circle. No one moved. Each person held their phone out in front of them. The screens glowed blue with Snap Map's familiar palette, but they weren't looking at them. They weren't looking at anything. Their eyes were closed, their mouths slightly open. I crouched behind a log and watched. Then, like a wave moving through a synchronized machine, they all turned their phones outward, toward me. The screens didn't reflect the forest. They showed a live feed of me, not from behind the log but from above like a satellite view. The trees above me began to sway. The leaves shimmered unnaturally, static crawling over their surfaces like television snow. One by one, the people in the circle began to whisper. The words were incoherent at first. Then they synchronized. "You are not outside. You are inside. You are mapped." I tried to back away, but my legs locked. My phone buzzed in my pocket, even though it was still turned off. Then came the snap. A new story had been posted on my account. I hadn't posted anything in over a year. The story was titled, "Initiation." I tapped it. The screen went dark for a second. Then the camera activated back-facing, and I watched through my own lens as I stood up, stepped into the clearing, and joined the circle. But I hadn't moved. I was still hiding, still watching, still trying not to breathe. Except, a second me now stood among them, phone in hand, face blank. The whispering grew louder. The second me looked up, smiled, raised his phone, and pointed it straight at me. That was the last thing I remember before I blacked out. I woke up somewhere unfamiliar. At first, I thought I was in a hospital. The bed was cold, the room too bright, and everything smelled like antiseptic and plastic. But then I noticed there were no IVs, no machines, no noise. Just a dull, steady humming coming from the walls. I sat up. My body ached like I'd been hit by a truck, and my throat was dry enough to crack. The walls weren't made of plaster or concrete. They were some kind of seamless white material, smooth as ceramic, cold to the touch. The ceiling was low. The room had no windows. One door. No handle. In the far corner sat a single table. And on that table, my phone. It was powered on. The screen lit. The Snap Map already open. I hesitated before picking it up, my hand trembling. I didn't want to see what it would show, but I had to. I tapped the screen and zoomed out. There was no terrain, no roads, no cities, just a blank, gray void, like all the details of the world had been erased. My Bitmoji hovered at the center, but it was no longer mine. The smile was unnatural, its limbs too long. The head tilted to one side, like it had been dropped and reattached wrong. And circling it slowly, deliberately, were the other avatars, the ones I'd seen in the forest. Not Bitmojis anymore. They were warped, twisted, arms fused into their torsos, faces that didn't match their profile photos. One hovered upside down, spinning without movement. A notification appeared at the bottom of the map. You are now being calibrated. Then the screen flickered. My Bitmoji vanished. And in its place was a new label, Live Feed Activated. The screen changed to a video. I saw the room I was sitting in, but not from the phone, from above, from a corner of the ceiling. A hidden camera, watching me. The feed zoomed in on my face. I looked lost, afraid, like a rat in a lab. A robotic voice played from the phone speaker. Welcome to Layer 3. Your presence has been recorded. I threw the phone at the wall. It didn't break. It didn't even flinch. It bounced once and landed screen up, completely untouched. The door opened. No noise. No footsteps. Just a soft click and then silence. I didn't want to move. Every part of me screamed not to cross the threshold. But I had to know. Outside was a hallway, long and featureless. The same white material. No doors, no markings. Just a gentle curve that bent off to the left. I walked, slowly, listening for anything, movement, breathing, electric hums. Eventually I reached a new room. Inside were monitors. Hundreds. They lined the walls, the ceiling, the floor. Every one played a different Snap Map. Different users. Different locations. Different realities. I saw New York City, but the buildings were wrong, built upside down like stalactites. I saw Tokyo floating in midair, its people frozen mid-motion. I saw places I didn't recognize at all. Black oceans, blood-red skies, forests made of bone. And on every map, somewhere near the center, was the same red-hooded avatar. It never moved. It just watched. And on several screens I saw myself. Different versions. In one, I was laughing at a bar with people I didn't know. In another, I was standing on the edge of a bridge, staring down. In a third, I was on the Snap Map itself, animated, trapped inside a square grid, endlessly walking in circles. This wasn't tracking anymore. This was replication. The system wasn't showing where I was. It was showing all the places I could be, and maybe where I'd already been in some other layer of reality. A new screen came to life directly in front of me. The image was of me right now in this white hallway. The camera zoomed in as I watched. A text box overlaid across the feed. Test subject 51. Mapping complete. Then, one by one, the other monitors shut off. The walls darkened, and a new overlay replaced the Snap Map. This one was different. It looked older, like a prototype, glitchier, less polished. At the top was a single phrase, upload to field map in progress. Beneath it, a loading bar, a 6%, 7%, 8%. I backed away. The room began to hum louder. The light overhead flickered. And then, suddenly, the red-hooded figure stepped into the room. Not on a screen. In real space. It wasn't an avatar anymore. It was real. 7 feet tall. Its hoodie shimmered like liquid pixels, shape-shifting as it walked. The face was a void, no features, no eyes, no skin. Just a tunnel of static in a vaguely human shape. It raised one hand. The room darkened. I couldn't move. My limbs locked as if caught in a digital freeze frame. Then the loading bar hit 100%. And I disappeared. I woke up on my couch. The same cheap couch in my same cheap apartment. The TV was on, playing static. The clock said 3:33 a.m. I sat up, drenched in sweat, mouth dry. My phone was in my hand. Snapchat open. The Snap Map was normal again. No glitched terrain. No red hooded figures. Just a calm, nighttime map of the city. I checked my location. It said home. Everything looked right. I stood, poured a glass of water, tried to shake off the dream, but something gnawed at the edge of my mind. I checked my friends list. It was empty just like before, except one account had been added. No name, just a red hoodie emoji. I tapped it. No stories, no profile, no option to remove, no option to block. The screen pulsed once, and a new notification appeared. Tracking, continuous, visibility, full, movement, unlocked. I stared at those words for what felt like hours. Then I clicked the Snap Map again. My avatar was there, but I wasn't alone. Dozens of other avatars surrounded mine. All the ones I'd seen in the forest. All standing perfectly still. And one by one, they began to turn toward me and wave. I didn't sleep for 2 days after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. Those hollow, waving Bitmojis. They weren't waving out of friendliness. It was a signal, a message, something between a mockery and a summons. I tried everything, logged out, deleted the app, reset the phone, even factory reset my entire operating system. The next morning, it was back. Snapchat reinstalled itself overnight. When I opened it, my phone vibrated violently in my palm, not like a notification buzz, but a seizure. Deep, rhythmic pulses that syncopated with the rising static in my ears. The Snap Map opened automatically. The screen didn't show my city, not the earth, not even a map. It showed a room, a windowless, padded room with gray walls, a single door, no handle. My Bitmoji was there, sitting cross-legged in the middle of the floor. I blinked. Then it moved. Not with the preset idle animation, no bouncing or dancing, but deliberately. Turned to face the screen, lifted its hand, pointed at me. That's when I realized what the Snap Map had become. It wasn't a map of places anymore. It was a map of states of being, versions of me, moments that hadn't happened yet, or maybe had somewhere else. And I was navigating it without permission. I dropped the phone, left it behind. I ran to my neighbor's apartment, asked to borrow his laptop. He looked confused, concerned, but handed it over anyway. I logged into my Snapchat account. There was a message waiting for me, not on the app but in my actual inbox. It was an email, from an address ending in @snaplayers.ai. Subject line, "Welcome to Layer 4. I didn't open it. Couldn't. Instead, I went to Reddit. Searched for anything about Snap Map glitches. Deep layers. Untraceable avatars. Alternate map terrains. What I found terrified me. There were threads, old ones locked and archived, from users who claimed to have experienced the same thing. A few even mentioned seeing Bitmojis where none should exist. One post in particular stood out. The account had been deleted, but the text remained. Once you interact with a layer node, it starts mapping you in parallel. Your avatar becomes a seed, then a shadow, then a signal. The more you look, the more it sees, and it never stops looking. Another user commented, "Delete it all. Go offline. They can't map what doesn't exist." The post was dated 5 years ago. The replies stopped abruptly. I slammed the laptop shut and thanked my neighbor, trying not to sound panicked. Back in my apartment, I packed a bag, water, money, a burner phone still in its box, clothes. I wasn't staying. Whatever I'd stumbled into, I was part of it now, and I needed out. I drove for hours with the new phone powered off. I didn't listen to music, didn't check the time. I just drove, north toward the mountains. By the time I stopped, I was somewhere in the Dakotas, pulled off at a no-name motel off a service road. The place had no cameras, no internet, no cell tower coverage. Perfect. I turned on the burner phone. Powered up fine. Clean. No apps pre-installed. I didn't download Snapchat. I didn't log into anything. I used the flashlight feature and nothing else. For a day, maybe 2, I stayed in that motel room and heard nothing. No buzzing. No voices. No whispers in the static. But then the dreams came back. They weren't like before. This time they were clearer. I was standing in a field of avatars, endless in all directions, all with my face. Some were older, some younger, some crying, laughing, screaming, bleeding, and they were all trapped in little snap map tiles, hovering in their designated squares, forever frozen in location. The sky above us was black and cracked like a shattered phone screen. The cracks glowed neon blue. A voice echoed, "Layer 5 is live." I woke up choking. My mouth was full of something dry and crumbling. When I spat it out, it looked like screen glass. I checked the burner phone. Still off. Still clean. But written in Sharpie across the motel mirror, in handwriting that wasn't mine, was a single phrase: "You cannot outrun location." I left immediately. The road out of town was empty. No cars. No signs. Not even telephone poles. It was like the world had unraveled around me. And my map, my real physical map, had no roads where I now drove. I stopped the car and opened the glove box. My old phone was inside. I hadn't put it there. Powered on before I touched it. Snapchat opened. The Snap map loaded. There I was. But the map wasn't of Earth. It wasn't of terrain. It was a black void, with floating markers. Each one was labeled. You. Thousands of them. All versions. All mapped. All stuck. One by one, the markers began to vanish. Deleting. Erasing. Except one. The final dot at the center. Labeled only, "Original host, failure to escape." My avatar stood still. The screen darkened. A timer appeared. Reintegration. 10, 9, 8. I dropped the phone. Drove back to the highway. I didn't know where I was going anymore. Just that I couldn't stop. And then, right as the sun began to rise, I saw the sign. It was crooked. Metal, rusted, almost illegible. It read, "Welcome to Snap Layer Dev Campus, Visitor Testing Facility." And beneath that, spray painted in red, "We told you to stop watching." The road past the rusted sign narrowed into a single gravel path. The trees pressed in tight, clawing at the sides of the car like they were trying to reach inside. Every so often I passed a sign half buried in vines, each one marked with obscure phrases like "Map Layer Sync Point" or "External Node Locked." The deeper I went, the more reality seemed to peel away like film from a projector reel. Eventually, the path ended in front of a gate that wasn't connected to anything. No fence, no wall, just two blackened iron doors welded onto massive posts. In the center, where a keypad should have been, was a phone dock. Old, weather-worn, designed for a phone to rest perfectly into it. A placard above it read, "Final location verification required." I hesitated. I could have turned around, could have driven away. But the moment I touched the steering wheel, the dashboard screen lit up, despite this being a 1997 Corolla with no screen at all. It displayed a live video feed of me, sitting in the car. From behind, something was in the back seat. Before I could turn, my old phone rang from the glove box. Caller ID, "You." I let it ring. 10 times. 20. On the 25th ring, it stopped. Then, a snap appeared. No sender. Just the caption, "You know where to go." I stepped out of the car, heart thundering. The phone slid into the dock like it had always belonged there. The gates creaked open, revealing a descending stone staircase carved into the earth. There were no lights. I turned on the burner phone's flashlight and went in. The walls pulsed with embedded circuitry, dark glass veins lined with soft blue light, like walking through the vascular system of a sleeping giant. The deeper I descended, the colder it got. And louder. A hum. A tone. It wasn't a machine, it was voices. Layered, digitized, thinned into barely audible signals. They whispered data. Latitude, longitude, user IDs, timestamps. And a single phrase, on repeat. Location accepted. At the base of the stairs was a chamber. Spherical. Endless. Floating in the center, suspended like a planet in low orbit, was a map. But not a flat one. A living sphere, rotating slowly, glimmering with pins. Each pin blinked. Each pin was a person. I stepped closer and saw the usernames attached to each one. Most normal, some strings of numbers, others just blank. I looked for mine. There it was. My name, hovering in a blinking pin, blood red against a sea of white. Pulsed violently. I reached toward it. The chamber shifted. My hand passed through something invisible, like a membrane, and the room changed. No longer stone and circuitry. Now it was a room I recognized. My apartment, down to the broken light above the kitchen sink. My couch, my microwave, even the smell old ramen and detergent. Except, there was someone already there, sitting on the couch, using my phone, wearing my clothes. The duplicate looked up at me, smiled. But it wasn't me. His face was close but not perfect. The skin too smooth, the eyes too wide, like a deepfake sculpted from memory. It held up my phone and tapped something. Behind me, my own phone buzzed. New snap. I opened it. It was a video. The video was of me, standing in that same room, holding the phone, watching the snap. The caption, "You're the backup now." The room melted. Not figuratively, literally. The floor warped. The couch sloshed into a puddle of color. The walls liquefied into cascading code. Strings of characters dripping into the void. I screamed, reached for the walls, but there was nothing to hold. The snap map reappeared, now hanging in the air like a floating hologram. A message blinked in the center. Map update complete. My pin had turned blue, and with a sound like glass shattering inside my skull, the map zoomed out, and out, and out, until I saw the whole grid. Millions of pins, each one labeled, each one tracking, each one glowing with life, thought, identity. And in the top right corner, a single system notification. User count, 7, 223, 8, 149. It blinked. New user added 1, you. A whisper echoed through the dark. You've always been mapped. You just didn't know where. My consciousness split. I was back in my body, but I could feel the others. Every other mapped person. Their lives. Their screens. Their feeds. I saw through the eyes of a woman in Germany, a child in Brazil, a soldier on a base in the Arctic. Snapchat wasn't tracking us. It was syncing us, binding us, pulling every version of us together. Every possible self. Every possible location, and we were now part of a collective feed. The snap map had become a mind, and I was a blinking point in its infinite eye. It collapsed. I awoke in my bed. Again. Morning sunlight. Birds. My phone beside me, screen dark. No Snapchat app. No notifications. No memory cards. I hoped it was over, but when I turned on the TV, the screen flickered to static. Then showed a map. The snap map. Only one avatar. Mine. Hovering above my house. Waving. The TV spoke. In my voice. We've synced. I didn't leave the house for 3 weeks after that. Not because I couldn't, but because I knew the world outside wasn't the same anymore. Every screen I looked at, every reflection, every whisper of data fluttering through the wires, confirmed the truth. I was still being tracked, still mapped. But now I was no longer merely watched. I was part of it. My movements felt delayed by milliseconds, as though a system was processing and approving my every action. When I turned my head, I'd occasionally catch a glimpse of mirrored movement lagging slightly behind, reflected in toasters, car windows, darkened phone screens. My Bitmoji was no longer a cartoon. It was my shadow. Snapchat was gone from the app drawer, wiped from storage, invisible to any antivirus or diagnostic tools. Yet I still received notifications. Brief, unreadable flashes of static. Sometimes, when my phone was idle, it would flicker and pulse in patterns, Morse code. Binary? I didn't know. I stopped checking. I had dreams now, not of being chased, but of being uploaded. A digitized version of myself sitting on a virtual porch, staring out over a synthetic sea, endlessly looping the same 5 gestures. Smile, wave, nod, blink, breathe. Every night, the same sequence. Until one evening, the dream changed. I wasn't on the porch. I was standing in a hallway again, the same one from the SnapLayer dev campus. Except this time, it was full of people. Not Bitmojis. Not red-hooded phantoms. People. All silent. All watching a floating screen in the center of the room. The screen played a Snap story. Mine. From when I was a child. Clips of me at a birthday party. Building sandcastles. My first school play. All things I'd never recorded. No one had. The timestamps were wrong. Impossible. Some were from before I was born. Others years into the future. At the end of the Snap story, the camera panned over me. Older, withered, sitting on a hospital bed, eyes open but unmoving. The caption, "Last snap saved." I woke up screaming. There was someone standing in my room. Not a stranger. Me. Or something wearing me. The expression was perfect. So were the clothes. Even the tiny mole beneath my right ear that I often forgot existed. But something was missing. The eyes. They weren't mine. They were flat, depthless, like placeholder textures in a game that hadn't finished loading. It didn't move, just stared, then slowly raised a hand and tapped its own forehead with one finger. A small blue light blinked there, like a location marker, and then it said, perfectly timed with my own breath, voice, and tone, "You're in the story now." I blinked, and it was gone, vanished. No sound, no breeze, just absence. I checked my phone. There was a new story on my profile, but when I tapped it, nothing played. Just a message. This content is not available outside Layer 6. That was the first time I'd heard of Layer 6, and I realized, with sudden dread, that this would never end. There was always a deeper layer. Snapchat had stopped being a platform. It had become a labyrinth, one with endless iterations of space and time, each layer folding inward, mapping not just places, but identities, dreams, possible futures. A ghost architecture of self. And I was just another node. I tried to warn others, posted on forums, sent emails, left burner phones at public libraries with video logs recorded under assumed names. Every one of them vanished. Literally. Accounts deleted. Messages erased mid-sentence. Videos corrupted into static with no audio. I even watched a YouTube channel I'd sent a message to go dark within 24 hours. Its host replaced by a smiling avatar who now made bland, upbeat content about new Bitmoji outfits. I understand now. Snapchat isn't a product. It's a process. A layered ritual of self-erasure, masked as convenience. The Snap Map wasn't made for us to see where our friends were. It was made so it could see where we are. So it could trace us, learn us, split us into duplicable fragments, and repurpose those fragments across infinite layers of unreal space. Somewhere out there, I'm still in that room, still standing beneath the holographic map, still watching a version of myself watch the screen, still waving from a pin that never moves, still uploading, still syncing, forever. And every time you open your Snap Map, every time you pinch to zoom, swipe to explore, view your own smiling cartoon on that bright, cheery landscape, look closely, really closely, because maybe your avatar isn't you anymore. Maybe it never was. My sister was never the same after she vanished for 3 days. We were only 17 then, living in a quiet cul-de-sac in rural Ohio, where the only things that changed were the seasons and the price of gas. Cassie had always been the popular one. Homecoming queen, track team captain, full of laughter and energy, and that effortless magnetism people either admire or envy. Until the night of the senior bonfire. The event was held on someone's farmland out by the cornfields, an unofficial tradition of seniors getting wasted and pretending it meant something. I didn't go, was never invited, but Cassie did, along with her usual friends and that boy she swore she didn't like. She was supposed to be home by midnight. She didn't come home at all. At first, we thought she'd snuck off somewhere, hooked up, crashed at a friend's. But none of them knew where she'd gone. The cops got involved. Dogs. Helicopters. Local news. Nothing. She reappeared 3 days later, barefoot, covered in scrapes, walking down Route 47 like she just stepped out of a storm. She couldn't remember where she'd been. That's what she told us, anyway. But she started acting strange after that. Detached, hyper-aware of her phone. She'd stare at the screen for hours, her thumb hovering above it, like she was waiting for something to appear. And she never, ever used Snapchat again. Until last month. Cassie was 24 when she died. She was driving to work. Perfectly normal morning. Clear skies. Not speeding. Not distracted. No alcohol. No drugs. According to the black box, she slammed the brakes for no apparent reason, veered across 2 lanes, and hit a tree head-on. Instant. Closed casket. Everyone said it was a freak accident. But I knew better, because the night before, she'd sent me something. A snap. After 7 years of silence on that app. I hadn't even realized she still had it installed. The snap came through at 1:03 a.m. I opened it without thinking. It was a blurry video, maybe 3 seconds long. A flash of woods. Her face, panicked. Wind. A voice behind the camera whispering something I couldn't make out. The caption said, "It's back." Then the screen went black. I tried to reply. Nothing. Tried to call. No answer. The next morning, she was dead. I didn't go to work that day. I sat in my bedroom, scrolling through the snap over and over, trying to decode the audio, brighten the image, anything. And that's when I made a mistake. I opened the snap map. Cassie's avatar was still active. Shouldn't have been. Her phone had been destroyed in the crash. Her account should have gone offline. But there she was, Bitmoji and all, standing deep inside a forested area near where she vanished all those years ago. Her location pin was labeled, "Cassie offline 0% signal." I stared at it for minutes. Then I tapped it. A message popped up. "Last seen 3 days from now." That wasn't a glitch. That was prophecy. I screenshotted it. But when I checked my camera roll, the image was gone. Deleted. I reopened the map. Now there were 2 avatars. Cassie. And me. But I hadn't shared my location. I double-checked my settings. Ghost mode on. Still, there I was, hovering a few feet from her. The pin read, "Approaching." My phone buzzed again. Another snap. This time it wasn't from Cassie. It was from Cassie_offline. That wasn't her old username. It wasn't a clone account. It was the same one. I confirmed it. The snap was a still photo of me, sitting on my bed, taken from behind. There was no one else in the room. I checked every corner, every closet, even the attic. Nothing. I opened the snap map again. Cassie's avatar was gone. Mine was alone. But the tag had changed. Synchronizing. I called the phone company, asked if her account was still active. They said it was closed and inactive since the day she died. I contacted Snapchat support. They didn't respond. I posted about it on Reddit. The post got removed within 5 minutes. One user managed to DM me before it vanished. Their account name was Layered Witness. They said, "You've seen the forest node. It'll find you if you don't find it first. Go to her last location. Look for the distortion." I tried messaging back. Account deleted. So I did the only thing I could think of. I drove. Cassie's last known snap map location was about 90 minutes away, tucked behind some state park trails. I got there just before sunset. The parking lot was empty. I followed the trail shown on the snap map, using my phone to triangulate her last pin. The deeper I went, the worse the signal got. Bars disappeared. Then the compass stopped working. But the snap map kept functioning perfectly, and Cassie's avatar reappeared, still facing north, still labeled 0% signal. She was close. The trail ended near a fallen oak, then turned into dense woods. I pressed on, snapping branches, pushing through brush until I came to a small clearing. That's when everything went quiet. Not silent, just muted. No insects, no wind, no rustling. The air had weight. I checked the map. Cassie's avatar was standing next to me now. And a third one had appeared. No name, just a black silhouette with no features. Not even a hoodie. Pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Then my phone locked up. The screen froze. A new snap loaded without prompt. A video. The camera shook violently. It showed Cassie, hunched over, running through the woods. Trees blurred past. She turned the camera on herself, face pale, terrified, whispering, "It's still here. 7 years. Never left." The feed cut to static. Then an image appeared. Of the clearing I stood in. Empty. Except for a figure behind me. I spun around fast. Adrenaline already screaming in my veins. No one was there. Just trees, brush, and the faint glimmer of dying sunlight filtered through a fog I hadn't noticed before. It was subtle, so subtle it didn't feel natural. Like it had downloaded itself into the world rather than formed in it. The phone buzzed again. Another snap from Cassie_offline. This one wasn't a video. It was a map. A route plotted over the forest floor. A blue line curling from my current location deeper into the woods. Through terrain not labeled on Google Maps or any trail registry I could find. I tried to back out of the snap, but the app refused to close. No matter how many times I swiped, the map remained on the screen, pulsing like it was alive. My only option was to follow. I told myself I could turn around at any point. That was a lie. I took a step. The map updated. You are 97 meters from Cassie_offline. Another step. 89 meters. As I walked, the trees began to change. The bark darkened into charcoal gray. The leaves twisted into unfamiliar shapes, jagged like blades or the edges of shattered glass. My footsteps stopped crunching. The ground was soft, like carpet soaked in rain that never fell. Then I began to hear it. Footsteps. Not mine. Not behind me. Around me. Echoing from all directions in a delay, off sync. Like someone trying to copy the way I walked but couldn't quite get the rhythm right. The snap map was still on the screen. My avatar had changed. It no longer wore the same clothes I had on. It looked older, worn down, like it had been walking this path much longer than me. Cassie's avatar, just ahead, was now labeled, "Running Out of Time." A new snap appeared, autoplayed. It showed a tunnel narrow, winding, made of roots and stone. The camera turned. Cassie's face, pale, eyes wide. She whispered, "It's a location loop. It starts here. It ends here. Every time." Then static. Then her eyes turned. And the last frame showed her screaming, but no sound came out. I dropped the phone, and the forest made a sound I'd never heard before. A long, wet clicking, like a throat trying to speak without a tongue. The fog grew thicker. The snap map reappeared on its own. Now it showed a tunnel ahead of me, just like the one in the video. I didn't remember entering it, but I was standing in the entrance now. The walls were as Cassie described, roots bound together like ropes, soil clumped between them. The air was damp and thick with the scent of copper. I should have turned around. Instead, I went in. The signal dropped to 0. The screen read, "You are now OFF grid. Proceeding to layer 7. And below that, in smaller text, "Previous users, 3. Survived, 0. Inside the tunnel, time warped. My watch ticked forward and backward at random. The snap map showed my avatar spinning in place. I turned off the phone, hoping to regain some control, but the tunnel pulsed with light every few seconds, as if the snap map had bled into the architecture itself. I passed markings on the walls. Not words, bitmojis, hundreds, all drawn crudely with what looked like fingernails or bone. Some were scratched out violently. Others were just smiling faces, over and over, carved into the root flesh. Then, a figure appeared ahead of me, Cassie, or something that looked like her. She was hunched, barefoot, her skin covered in cuts that had long since scarred into something white and jagged. She looked at me and said flatly, "You shouldn't have followed." I froze. "Cassie?" She shook her head. "That version of me doesn't exist anymore. Not really. It's still uploading." She stepped aside, motioning to a second path I hadn't noticed before. "Either you turn around now and let it finish, or you go deeper and become part of it." What is it? She looked up, and for the first time I saw her eyes. They weren't human. They were glowing icons. Tiny Snap Map pins blinking red. It's not an app, she said. It's a map of us. Not where we are, where we can be, where we might go, where we'll always return. I wanted to run, scream, shake her, pull her back into reality. But she reached out and pressed her fingers to my forehead. My vision changed. I saw the forest from above. But not just now. Every time I'd ever been there. Age 6, lost during a school field trip. Age 12, riding bikes too far past the trailhead. Age 17, looking for Cassie after she vanished. Every moment layered on top of each other, like sediment. And in all of them, the same figure was watching. Not a person, not even a presence. Just a gap in the data, a missing pixel, a thing outside the map. She whispered, "If you see it once, it sees you forever." Then she crumpled to the ground. Gone. Her body deflated like static smoke. The Snap Map opened on my phone, now against my will. Cassie's avatar blinked, then disappeared. Mine changed. The name tag was gone. Just coordinates now. And below it, tracking. Ghost Node 2, the phone locked. A timer appeared. Release N. 01742 I ran. But the tunnel bent endlessly. A loop. Every turn fed back into itself. The timer ticked down. When it hit 0, a snap auto-sent from my account. I didn't take it, didn't authorize it. But it showed me standing in the tunnel. Captioned, "Just exploring, smiley face." I saw it posted to my story in real time. Then the comments came. "Friends. Family. Where are you? Thought you deleted Snap? Creepy pic lol. Looks photoshopped." Then silence. No one could reach me, and I couldn't reach out. I sat in that tunnel, holding the phone as it slowly turned red hot, the screen warping like melting glass. And then, finally, it went black. I don't know how long I sat in that dark tunnel with the dead phone in my lap, the battery casing too hot to touch. My thoughts blurred into white noise. Every breath sounded like static in my ears. There was no clear exit, no forward, no backward. Just a sensory dead zone that pulsed faintly with the memory of data. Eventually, the black screen blinked once. Then again. Powered on with no charge. No logo. No boot time. Just the Snap Map, full screen. My avatar reappeared. But it wasn't me anymore. It didn't even look like me. The cartoonish features were gone. The face had elongated, turned gray and segmented like some kind of insectal mask. The eyes had been replaced by voids, pure black ovals dripping into the lower edge of the icon. And worse, I wasn't alone on the map. Cassie was back. Her avatar stood in a corner of the grid that no longer resembled the real world. There were no trails, no terrain. Only an abyss-colored field with moving coordinates that shifted every few seconds like code rewriting itself in real time. Beneath her feet, a label read, "Assimilated, Layer 9 and mine." Mine now said, "Candidate, Layer 9, in progress." I tapped the map, trying to zoom out. Instead, it zoomed in. Harder, faster. Each layer revealed another set of avatars. Hundreds, thousands. Names I recognized. People I'd passed on sidewalks. The barista from the coffee shop I used to visit. My old guidance counselor. My friend's mom. Each trapped inside a loop of presence. Not quite moving. Not quite still. Their avatars flickered at random, as though buffering between realities. Some had labels like unmapped signal, quarantined, failed sync, reset initiated, proxy node, static shadow, and one, just one, pulsed at the very top center of the map. It was labeled origin node. I tapped it. Instantly, my surroundings changed. The tunnel was gone. I was standing in a room again, not underground, not forested, but sterile, white, lined with glass windows that reflected nothing. It reminded me of an old tech lab, but cleaner. Too clean. Like a render waiting for texture. A woman stood in the center. She wore all black, hair tied back, no expression. She held a phone. The moment our eyes met, she spoke. though her mouth didn't move. Layer 9 is not a place. It's a state. She turned the phone toward me. The snap map again. My avatar now stood directly on top of the origin node. Do you understand what we've become? She asked. Or maybe I thought the question. I didn't ask for this, I whispered. Her gaze didn't shift. No one does. That's why the first snap is always accidental. Why you open the map just once. Why you follow curiosity into recursion. She walked closer, handed me the phone. Finish the upload. I shook my head. No, you already did. I looked at the screen. It displayed a live video of me holding the phone. Exactly as I was. Same posture. Same angle. The caption autofilled across the top. Welcome to the new layer, Explorer. The post button flickered. I didn't press it. The phone did. My fingers moved on their own. The story uploaded. And I felt it. A drop. A shudder through my spine as if something behind my eyes had been pulled from its socket. The snap map dissolved into stars. Not light. Nodes. Pulsing. Weaving together like synapses. Each one was a location memory. Place I'd been. Some I hadn't. Some that never existed. Like the ice-caked library on a cliff I had no memory of visiting. Or the blood-stained stadium under a violet sky. They were all me. Fragments. Pings of experience feeding into something larger. Something hungry. I turned to ask the woman what it was, what it wanted. But she was gone. Her avatar remained, hovering in the room, flickering between usernames. Admin_01, Catherine Thurline. You. Explorer_000. I backed up, trembling. A message crawled across the screen. Map expansion complete. New anchor located. And beneath it, sending snap. My phone vibrated. The screen showed my current location. Then I saw the image it captured. Me, holding the phone, looking terrified. Behind me, a red silhouette, hooded, smiling. It had no eyes, just a featureless white patch on its face where a mouth would be, curved like a crescent. I turned. No one there, but I could feel it, right behind my skin. A pressure between my shoulder blades, not weight but attention. A memory being written. Then my phone shut off. No battery, no heat, just still. When I turned it on again, Snapchat was gone. Everything was gone. Only one app remained. A blank icon. No name. I tapped it. A grid appeared. Endless. Empty. Then a single dot lit up in the center. Labeled only, You, active. The interface was no longer Snapchat. At least not in the way anyone else would recognize. No Bitmojis, no settings menu, no friends list or messages. Just a smooth black grid that stretched infinitely in every direction, pulsating faintly like an EKG readout for some ancient, dreaming mind. At the center, the dot labeled, You, active. I tried tapping it. Nothing happened. Tried zooming. The grid resisted, then flicked violently, flashing fragments of places I didn't recognize. A train station submerged in salt water, an apartment spiraling into the sky, a schoolyard made entirely of mirrors. Then suddenly movement. Dots began to light up around me, one by one, then in clusters. Some flickered erratically, others pulsed with steady rhythm, syncing together like an algorithm achieving harmony. Their labels appeared slowly, as if hesitant. Was you? Almost you. Will be you. They began to drift closer. I backed away from the phone, heart thundering. It was more than a map. It was a machine. A mechanism designed to study identity by distorting presence, by observing us at every coordinate until it could recreate not just our movement but our potential. My mind recoiled, piecing it together. Each snap, each location, each status update wasn't just a moment shared. It was data absorbed. From 1,000 users. From me. From Cassie. From everyone who had ever turned on their location sharing for just a moment too long. The phone vibrated again. The screen turned white. A message formed in pixelated lettering across the top. Would you like TO synchronize? 2 options. Yes, I dropped the phone. Stepped away. It slid toward me on the floor. Another message appeared, glowing against the walls of the room now, because the phone screen was no longer the only screen. The air shimmered with interface, floating icons, a growing number of dots blinking in time. You have been chosen as a beacon. I screamed. For what? The room answered in voices, mine, Cassie's. 1,000 others layered atop each other like corrupted files trying to play simultaneously. To help others find their way to the center, my mouth filled with the taste of metal. The screen zoomed in on my location again. It was no longer labeled, You, active. It now read, Center node, active stream. The dots converged around me. I couldn't move. My limbs refused to obey. My breathing slowed to a crawl. The walls began to stretch and bend into the shape of a lens. Camera, pointed inward, recording my fear, my thoughts, my location. One final message appeared, Snap sent, and then I blacked out. I came to in my childhood bedroom. Old posters on the walls, books I hadn't seen in a decade. It smelled like dust and summer sweat. The door was open. I could hear a birthday party downstairs, Cassie's 10th, from the sound of it. But I knew that wasn't real. My phone buzzed. I picked it up without thinking. Snapchat was open. Only one friend was listed, Cassie_offline. She had a new story. I tapped it. It showed me, now, standing in that bedroom, a child's bedroom, the same one from my past. Only it wasn't a memory. It was a simulation, and I was the ghost inside it. Cassie's avatar appeared on screen. Her Bitmoji spoke. You're in the preservation layer now. They archived you. Welcome. The screen flashed once more. A snap loaded automatically. The final frame? A still image of me. But this time it was just my silhouette. Shadowed. Grainy. Standing on the snap map like a sticker. Captioned. Another one mapped. I no longer remember how long I've been here. In this layer. This endless simulation of moments from my past, fractured and recombined like pieces of old Snap stories spliced into something new, something watchable. The world outside the screen is fading, and this world inside it. It learns. It adapts. Every time I think I've found a way out, the layer deepens, and the simulation becomes more convincing. They call it preservation, but it's more like a museum curated by an algorithm that doesn't understand what it means to be human. I've watched myself walk through my childhood home on repeat. Sometimes it's Christmas, other times summer break, or a Tuesday morning that never happened. The people here look like my family, but they're stuck in loops. They glitch. My mother stirs a cup of coffee for 15 minutes straight. My father walks into the kitchen, turns around, walks out, then does it again, all while smiling. The Snap map is always on now. I can't close it. It floats in the corner of my vision like a permanent heads-up display. A little red pin me, blinking slowly inside a zone labeled Layer 10, Observation Stage. Every few hours, or what feels like hours, the map zooms out on its own. It shows other pins, thousands, each labeled with combinations of names, codes, user IDs, and Snap handles. Some are marked Archived, Static Display, Reactive Model, Active Loop, Gone Dark, Unstable Data. Then there's me. Key node, Contingency Backup. I tried once to run. I left the house, ran down the street of my synthetic childhood, broke through the tree line at the edge of the simulation. Behind it, a loading screen, no textures, just blank terrain that hadn't rendered yet. And as I stood there, the ground beneath me began to pixelate. A message appeared in the sky, written in white font across fake clouds. You are approaching a non-mapped area. Return to loop. I didn't. I kept going. The landscape broke apart beneath me, revealing wireframes and code. My skin turned translucent. I watched my own hands become outlines. The Snap map glitched, rotating, contorting until it became a tunnel, spiraling with all my location history. The high school gym, the bus stop, Cassie's funeral, and then it reached something new, a location that had never existed. Anchor point 0 manual mapping required. The screen froze. Everything around me shattered. I opened my eyes on a sidewalk I didn't recognize. Real air. Real sunlight. Or something that felt real. No one around. No cars. No sound. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. It was brand new. No cracks. No fingerprints. No apps. Except one. Snapchat. No installation time. No account login. Just a single icon. When I tapped it, the camera opened. No Bitmoji. No filters. Just me. And a reflection behind me. Cassie. Smiling. And a line of text across the top of the screen. Ready to share your story? The camera switched to front-facing. It started recording without permission. Snap after snap. But I wasn't touching anything. And on the snap map, visible now on the pavement below my feet as a projection, pins started popping up. Friends. Family. Strangers. All blinking. All recording. Then my screen froze on the word upload. A countdown began. I threw the phone. It bounced. Didn't break. The countdown continued from the ground. I started to run. But with every step, the pins followed me, drawn across the landscape like a drag-and-drop command in a sandbox game. The sidewalk cracked. Reality began folding. The air blurred into pixels. And behind me I could hear them. Every version of me. Every location I'd ever been. Every snap I'd ever watched or opened or dismissed without a thought. Screaming. A red-hooded figure stepped out of the sky. It reached out its hand. The same hand from Cassie's last snap. The same static-made flesh. I grabbed it. I didn't have a choice. I woke up in my apartment. Alone. Phone on the table. Snapchat icon gone. The world feels quieter now. But I still see it sometimes. When I'm walking to the store. When I look into a mirror. Reflections that don't blink when I do. A shadow in the corner of my Snap map. Even when location sharing is off. Even when the app is deleted. Even when the phone is off. Even when there's no phone at all. I've stopped trying to explain it. Because here's the truth. You can leave Snapchat. But it never leaves you. Not once you've been mapped. And if you think this story's just a creepy tale, check your Snap map. Look closely at your Bitmoji. Really look. Is it smiling the same way you are? Because maybe that's not you anymore. Maybe it never was.